Students, बात चल रही है about the services that are provided by the data link layer. Students, हम लोगों ने framing की बात की थी, and we went through the process of encapsulation at the sending end and decapsulation at the receiving end. मैंने आपको बताया था कि हर node which is involved in the communication or the logical communication at the data link layer, it needs to encapsulate the data or the datagram in the form of frames. And then the receiving node that receives that particular frame, and it decapsulates that frame so that we can recover our datagram back. Every node does that. So there is a logical data link connection that exists between all the different nodes, whether it's a source host or the connecting devices and the destination host. Students, another service, important one, that's provided by data link layer is that of flow control. Students, your data link layer source host that generates frames. Logically, the receiving data link layer host, it consumes frames. Students, whenever we have got the generating party or the data generating party, in this particular case, frame generating party, and then we have got a receiver that is consuming those frames, we need to make sure that there is some sort of agreement, there is some sort of sync between the frames that are sent from the sender and the frames that are accepted at the destination or by the receiver. Students, if we don't have any sort of flow control, what will happen is the frames that we are sending from the source, it will go to the destination. The buffer at the destination, it will get filled, and our whatever overflow that we have, all those frames will be destroyed or they will be thrown away. Students, one of the flow control mechanisms is exactly that. You have a particular size of the buffer, but that buffer cannot be unlimited in size. So what happens is, whenever the frames come from source and they fill up this buffer at the receiving end, we allow whatever the overflow is to get wasted. That is one method of flow control that you will study, but of course that is not the efficient one. Students, another method of flow control that we'll normally deploy at the data link layer or using the data link layer is the one where once the buffer it gets overflowed or the buffer gets filled, the receiver has got a mechanism to go back and tell the sender to stop right there because the buffer is full, and unless the buffer gets empty again. In other words, once all your frames they get decapsulated, only then the receiver is going to signal to the sender to start transmitting again. Students, this flow control at the frame level, the node-to-node communication level, that gets implemented at the data link layer, and that's a service that data link layer provides. Students, then we are going to be talking about the error detection and error correction. We are going to discuss this error detection and correction in a lot of detail in the next topics to come. Students, in your textbook, you have got a full chapter that we are going to be covering, which only deals with error detection and correction at the data link layer. But students, for now, you need to understand that the frames, whenever we are going to be sending frames, we will give those frames to the physical layer, and then physical layer sends our signal in the form of electromagnetic signals. आप लोगों ने ट्रांसमिशन मीडियम की डिस्कशन में ये पढ़ा था कि whenever we are sending signals in the form of electrical signals or in the form of electromagnetic signals, there is always going to be some sort of noise or interference that we will encounter. Errors will be introduced. We need to have some sort of mechanism that detects the errors and then fixes them. Students, this service of error detection and correction is an inherent service that data link layer provides as well. But students, congestion control. We'll talk about congestion control in this particular course as well, but it has to do with layer 3 and layer 4, your network layer and your transport layer as well. The congestion control is also, the majority of it is taken care of at layer 3 and layer 4. So we'll talk about the details of congestion control in those discussions in this course or in the course of computer networks. But you need to know the data link layer also has some sort of mechanism of providing this service to the upper layers, which are the layers of which are the network layer in layer 3, and then also the transport layer.